You arrive early. Your documents are ready. Your bag is packed the way you always pack it. The security line moves steadily, and nothing feels unusual. Your ID scans. Your boarding pass is accepted. You place your carry-on on the belt and step through the scanner. Then, your bag doesn't come out the other side. An officer lifts it calmly and sets it aside. We need to take a closer look. There's no accusation, no alarm, but you've just been pulled aside. In 2026, TSA screening isn't harsher, it's more precise. Identity verification is tighter. Imaging systems are clearer. Procedures are more consistent across airports. That means certain behaviors stand out faster than they used to. Not illegal behavior, not dramatic behavior, just small, everyday airport habits that quietly trigger additional review. In this guide, I'll walk you through 15 airport behaviors that get passengers pulled aside at TSA in 2026, and exactly how to avoid becoming the passenger whose bag gets moved off the belt. Because most of the time, it's not what you brought, it's how you moved through the process. Let's begin.
15. The early step. Walking into the body scanner before the officer signals you may seem harmless, especially when the line is moving quickly. Many travelers assume they understand the routine and step forward automatically. But in 2026, screening lanes operate with precise sequencing. Entering too early disrupts the flow and forces the officer to reset the process. I've seen this happen with a calm, older gentleman who simply stepped forward because the person ahead moved. The officer stopped him, reset the scanner, and it created a small pause that turned into a second pass-through. Nothing wrong happened, but it added attention and time he didn't expect. When the sequence breaks, the system may require a rescan. That means stepping out, waiting, and sometimes undergoing additional screening. Officers are trained to maintain controlled movement through the lane. When someone moves ahead of instruction, it creates uncertainty, not suspicion, but inconsistency. Pause before entering. Make eye contact, wait for a clear hand motion or verbal cue. Even if you've flown dozens of times, treat each checkpoint as guided, not self-directed. Controlled movement signals cooperation. Predictable behavior moves faster than confident assumptions. 14. The pocket leftovers. Coins, folded receipts, tissues, lip balm, or a small key, these are the items travelers forget most often. You believe your pockets are empty, but the scanner detects something small and irregular. Even paper can create a visible hotspot. I've seen a traveler pulled aside over something as simple as a tightly folded receipt and a few coins. He honestly thought he was ready, but the scanner flagged the pocket area and the officer had to resolve it with a quick check. It wasn't intense, just inconvenient. When an alert appears, the officer must resolve it. That may involve a handheld wand or brief secondary screening. It is procedural and consistent, but it adds time and shifts attention directly to you in the lane. Before stepping forward, physically check each pocket. Run your hands inside. Turn them outward if needed. Do not rely on memory. Empty means completely empty. Tiny objects create avoidable interruptions, and the next behavior is even more common, especially among travelers trying to be helpful. 13. The belt reach. Once your bag is placed on the conveyor belt, the screening sequence begins. Reaching forward to reposition a tray, adjust a handle, or remove something mid-motion interrupts the scanning process. Officers rely on consistent belt flow. I've seen a woman reach in to pull out a phone charger after the bin started moving. The officer stopped the belt, asked her to step back, and the bag ended up being rerun. She wasn't in trouble, but the process became slower and more noticeable. When someone reaches into the moving area, the image sequence may be disrupted. The bag could require rescanning, or the belt may need to pause. Even small adjustments create uncertainty in the process. Place your items correctly the first time. If you forget something important, inform the officer before it enters the scanner. Once it moves forward, step back and allow the system to work. Unnecessary movement signals unpredictability, even when the intention is harmless. 12. The long explanation. When an officer asks a simple question, providing a lengthy explanation can complicate the interaction. Screening is structured and direct. Officers ask specific questions for specific reasons. This is also where behavior matters in modern screening. Some travel guidance in early 2026 notes officers are trained to notice stress behaviors and unusual interaction patterns that slow the process, even when nothing illegal is present. Offering extra details about what's inside your bag or where you're traveling may lead to additional clarification. This does not imply suspicion, but extended conversation increases processing time. Answer only what is asked. Keep responses brief and steady. Provide documents when requested, not before. Clear communication supports efficiency. Structured responses keep the lane moving smoothly. Now pause for a moment, because the next behaviors happen before your bag is even scanned, and they quietly increase attention. 11. The ID fumble. When you reach the front and begin searching through your bag for identification, the entire lane pauses. Officers are trained to maintain steady flow. Visible hesitation creates a moment of review. In 2026, identity checks are getting more streamlined in many locations, including TSA PreCheck touchless ID expansion plans for spring 2026, which reflects how much the system rewards ready and consistent presentation at the podium. In 2026, identity verification systems operate with greater consistency. When an ID is not immediately presented, officers must wait and observe. That delay shifts focus directly onto you. Hold your ID in your hand before stepping forward. Confirm it matches your boarding pass. Keep it accessible until fully cleared. Prepared presentation sets the tone for everything that follows. 10. The metal trap. Layered necklaces, heavy watches, large belt buckles, and metal hair accessories create repeated alerts in body scanners. Each alert must be resolved individually. I've seen travelers surprised by this because they weren't wearing a lot, just a watch, a necklace, and a belt, but the scanner doesn't judge a lot, it flags metal locations. Then the officer has to clear each one before you can move on. When multiple hotspots appear, officers cannot ignore them. A wand check or brief pat-down may be required. It is not personal, it is systematic. Simplify before entering. Remove bulky accessories and place them in the bin. Choose travel clothing with minimal metal components. Less metal means fewer alerts. Stay focused, because the next behavior is one that many experienced travelers overlook. 9. The dense brick bag. When your carry-on is tightly compressed with layered electronics, stacked books, shoes pressed together, and cables wrapped around devices, the scanner image becomes difficult to interpret. Overlapping density creates dark or shadowed areas that machines cannot easily separate. Even harmless items can blend together visually when packed too tightly. This has become even more relevant as more airports adopt CT-style scanning. A July 2025 report explains newer CT-style machines are better at detecting certain threats, but dense or complex bags still get flagged for closer review because the image isn't clean. If an image cannot be clearly resolved, officers must inspect manually. The issue is not legality, it is clarity. Modern screening systems rely on clean outlines and distinguishable shapes. When everything appears as one solid block, the system flags it for a closer look. That often means your bag is pulled aside and opened in front of you. Pack in layers with small gaps between dense objects. Lay electronics flat and separate from metal. Avoid stacking books directly on top of devices. Leave slight breathing room rather than compressing every inch. A slightly looser bag produces a clearer image and reduces the likelihood of interruption. Clarity moves faster than compression. 8. The hidden big liquid. A single lotion bottle tucked into a purse compartment or side zipper is enough to trigger a bag pull. Many travelers carefully prepare their main toiletry bag, yet forget the backup item hidden elsewhere. Even one oversized liquid changes the outcome once detected by the scanner. TSA continues reminding travelers about the 311 rule in 2026 communications, including a February 2026 TSA press release that specifically repeats the liquids rule reminder for carry-ons. When the system identifies a container exceeding permitted limits, officers must remove the bag for review. The rule applies regardless of intent. It does not matter if the bottle is nearly empty or rarely used. Volume alone determines whether additional screening is required. That small oversight becomes a visible interruption in the lane. Before leaving home, check every compartment thoroughly. Consolidate all liquids into one clear bag. Avoid carrying duplicate containers just in case. Do a final sweep of outer pockets before placing your bag on the belt. Small oversights create avoidable delays. If you travel even once a year and want to avoid predictable interruptions like this, that's exactly why I break these patterns down clearly. Consider subscribing so you don't miss future updates. 7. The screenshot pass. A saved screenshot of your boarding pass may look identical to the original, but it does not update if gate, seat, or system information changes. Airports operate with real-time data synchronization. When a barcode is scanned, it must validate instantly against current records. This matters even more as touchless identity options expand. In January 2026, TSA announced expansion plans for touchless ID to more airports, showing how checkpoints are moving toward faster, live verification flows. If the system cannot confirm details quickly, officers may request a refreshed pass or ask you to step aside momentarily. That small delay shifts attention toward you and pauses the line behind you. It is not suspicion, it is a verification pause triggered by outdated data. Open your airline's official app before reaching security. Refresh the boarding pass screen so the barcode reflects current information. If you prefer paper, print a copy on the day of travel rather than relying on an older version saved to your device. Live data clears faster than static images. Using the most current version of your boarding pass ensures smoother validation and reduces unnecessary interaction at the podium. 6. The too late arrival. When you arrive at the checkpoint with little time before departure, even a routine bag check feels urgent. Officers cannot accelerate standardized procedures because of personal schedules. Screening follows structured steps that must be completed properly every time. This reality showed up clearly in late February 2026, reporting around airport operations and staffing pressure during the DHS shutdown situation, with travel groups warning that disruptions increase congestion and stress for travelers. If additional screening is required, it will take the time necessary to resolve. Tight timelines increase anxiety and sometimes lead to rushed movements or unclear communication. That combination can unintentionally create further delay. Stress does not speed up the process, it complicates it. Arrive at least 90 minutes before domestic flights and 2 hours before international travel. Add extra time during holidays or peak seasons. A comfortable buffer transforms small interruptions into manageable moments instead of emergencies. Early arrival reduces visible tension and allows screening to proceed calmly. Rushed travelers often experience more disruption than those who plan with margin. Time remains one of the simplest and most effective tools for avoiding unnecessary airport stress.
5. The repeat pull-aside pattern. If you notice you were consistently selected for additional screening during multiple trips, ignoring the pattern will not resolve it. While some selections are random, repeated occurrences may relate to identity similarities or data inconsistencies within federal systems. There is a formal path for this. DHS TRIP is specifically designed for travelers who repeatedly face screening issues, and DHS maintains an updated overview page, June 2025, explaining what it covers. When screening becomes frequent, officers must follow the same verification steps each time. Without correction, the cycle continues. Many travelers assume there's nothing they can do, but repeated reviews sometimes indicates an issue that can be formally addressed. Keep records of your travel dates and boarding passes. If secondary screening happens regularly, consider initiating a formal review through appropriate resolution channels. Addressing discrepancies proactively can reduce future interruptions and restore predictable processing. Long-term clarity prevents repeated delays. Instead of viewing recurring screening as unavoidable, treat it as a signal to investigate. Proactive correction saves time and frustration over the course of many trips. Stay with me, the final 4 are quick but important.
4. The food stack. Cheese blocks, wrapped sandwiches, tightly packed snack bars, and layered food containers appear opaque when compressed together. Organic materials produce dense imaging signatures that can resemble restricted items when stacked closely. Even ordinary food becomes difficult to interpret under heavy layering. I've seen someone pack a healthy snack bag with peanut butter, yogurt, and soft cheese all together. The bag was pulled aside not because food is forbidden, but because the image looked like one dense mass. It added several minutes and forced a full repack at the table. When scanners cannot clearly distinguish individual shapes, officers must inspect manually. The inspection is not about whether food is allowed, it is about whether the image can be confidently cleared. Dense stacking reduces clarity and increases the likelihood of a bag pull. Separate food items and keep them near the top of your bag. Avoid stacking dense objects directly on top of one another. If possible, place food in a single, visible section rather than mixing it among electronics or metal objects. Clear organization improves image resolution.
Packing food thoughtfully may seem minor, but clarity inside your bag directly influences how quickly it moves through screening. 3. The "it always fits" bag. Soft-sided carry-on bags expand when fully packed. Even slight increases in width or depth can push a bag beyond airline size limits. What fit easily last trip may not fit once extra items are added. I've seen this happen at the gate with a traveler who added a jacket, a souvenir box, and a small bag of snacks. The carry-on looked fine earlier. At boarding, it suddenly didn't. The agent measured it, tagged it, and the traveler had to remove valuables in a hurry. If a gate agent questions the size of your bag, it may be measured or placed in a sizing frame. When a bag fails the check, it may be gate-checked unexpectedly. That sudden change compresses timelines and introduces additional handling steps. Measure your bag when fully packed, not empty. Leave slight flexibility in zippers. Avoid overfilling exterior pockets that add bulk. Consider weighing your bag as well, especially on airlines with strict weight limits. Small dimension awareness prevents last-minute stress. Assuming fit without verifying can lead to visible adjustments at the gate. Preparation reduces the chance of surprise. 2. The visible frustration. Heavy sighs, raised voices, sharp gestures, or dismissive tone change the atmosphere of the interaction. Officers are trained to observe behavior as well as objects. Visible agitation can slow the pace of processing. I've seen a traveler who was otherwise compliant, shoes off, bins ready, but he kept expressing frustration loudly. The officer stayed calm, but everything became more deliberate, more instruction, more pauses, more rechecking. Not as punishment, as control. When tension rises, officers may become more deliberate in their review. That does not mean punishment. It means ensuring the process remains controlled. Emotional reactions often extend interaction time instead of shortening it. Maintain steady posture and calm responses. Speak clearly and directly. Even if you feel inconvenienced, controlled behavior signals cooperation and confidence. Calm presence supports smooth clearance. Screening is structured. Matching that structure with steady demeanor helps keep the interaction brief and predictable. The final call miss. When final boarding is announced, procedures tighten significantly. Gate agents operate under strict departure timelines. If you approach the podium after closure procedures begin, additional verification may be required before re-entry. I've seen a couple arrive during final call thinking they had 2 minutes. The door was still open, but the agent had to confirm details, recheck the scan, and the stress level jumped instantly. They made it, but it was a preventable scramble. Late arrival can trigger rechecking of identification or carry-on items to ensure compliance with departure rules. Even if the delay was unintentional, structured timing governs access once boarding closes. Remain near your gate once boarding begins. Listen carefully for announcements and group numbers. Avoid wandering too far during final calls. Move promptly when your group is called to prevent avoidable complications. Preparation extends beyond security. From check-in to aircraft door closure, predictable movement reduces friction. Staying attentive during final boarding prevents unnecessary stress at the last stage of your trip.